Hi, Boo.
Hi.
Well, here we are on Saturday, the Saturday after our 2025 roadmap webinar. We ran into a few technical difficulties, so I'm happy today that you and me are going to be able to run through the presentation that we provided to everyone who joined us so that they actually can have a recording of that content. And then also answer a few questions, more like categories of questions that came up as part of the webinar. Um, so I am excited to present with you and review that content. And then hopefully as we go forward, we're going to get a little better at knowing how to save and capture our webinars so that we have the real-time questions for those of you that are participating and those of you that are interested in more information from Atmasina. So why don't we get started? I'll ask if you can show our slides for today. And as part of, I guess, our introduction that might be missing is I wanted to just share a little bit about me and Vu. I'll get him to introduce himself. So my name is Reverdy Darda, or Rev Darda. I am the current CEO of Atma Sina Psychedelic Healthcare Solutions. It has been a journey in the last year in a partnership with Vutran. The company I started, Sina Life, has come together, and we are excited to be moving forward as one under our new brand, Atmasina Psychedelic Healthcare Solutions. And I'm pleased to introduce my co-founder, Vu Tran.
Thanks, Rev. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to announce I would say more like the completion of the Atma and Sina Life coming together and finalizing some documents and merging the team in a conversation that we started maybe almost 18 months ago and started working towards a common goal and to be able to align the two companies. And then we formed the new company, Atmasina Psychedelic Healthcare Solution, in March of 2024. So only about 10 months ago. And since then, we've been running and feverishly, and there's a lot that we feel we can provide together that is a lot more robust and a lot more comprehensive in how we can partner with therapists to provide more resources, tools, and really infrastructure for therapists to extend their practice into the realm of providing psychedelic assisted therapy. So I'm excited about what we have coming in 2025, and I couldn't have done it without Rev and the Cena Life team, and so I'm very grateful to have them as partners and to be able to move forward in 2025 together.
Wow. Well, thank you, Vu. I'm wondering if you just want to put it in presentation mode because then I'll start today and we can I'll review the first half of the information for the audience today. Then I'll turn it over to you. And then after that, as I said, we'll sort out the opportunity to give some information around the themes of the questions that we had when everybody joined us last Thursday. So welcome and thank you for joining the 2025 roadmap and Atmasina's year in review. We're going to explore some exciting strides that we've made, as Vu said, in increasing access to psychedelic assisted therapy. And I just want to reiterate the roadmap isn't purely about these milestones. Together with you, we're building a movement that we believe will transform mental health care. And that comes with all of you who are supporting us at its center. So as we move forward, the next slide there, Vu, we talked a bit about the ability for us to come together and really our unique skill sets in not only bringing tools and resources to therapists, but offering places that support safe, licensed delivery of psychedelic assisted therapy is really where our goals and our visions are most aligned. So as Vu said, it's probably been about 10 months and a lot of work that has gone underway to finalize the merger of Atma Journey and Cena Life coming together. So we have focused on really increasing accessibility of psychedelic therapy through therapists. As we've alluded to, we have expertise in not only clinical service delivery and operations, we have expertise and we've learned a lot through offering training to both regulated and non-regulated individuals, those in the healthcare space, those in the community space, those in the alternative and integrated health space. And our focus is really breaking down barriers so therapists can seamlessly incorporate psychedelic therapy into their practice. We're doing that in three ways. One is creating and bringing together a community of psychedelic therapists. We know that's the backbone to the delivery of this new and exciting treatment. They're the essential, and you all are the essential workforce. Really looking at how do you get increased knowledge and training, and then where's your pathway to practice? That we feel is the way to have increased access and sustainability to psychedelic therapy. So we are excited, and I feel like you've heard this, the co-care program that we've created is now launched and moving forward. And this is really the offering that therapists are able to integrate psychedelic therapy into their current practice. And that couldn't have happened without us really putting our focus on our clinical network. So we have developed a national network of clinics, and we look to support community therapy practices in helping them retrofit what they currently have to be able to incorporate a service line of psychedelic therapy. And that is a national clinical network that really has emerged on its own through individuals just like you who are seeking to bring access to their clients and looking at a really decentralized and localized way to do that without a lot of the costs that incur when you have to set up your clinic around some of the medical requirements that are there, but also to have it in a community space that is supporting the therapy components of service that exist and are really part of the entire program. And the third piece that we've been focused on is really how do we scale and sustain this knowledge and these offerings. And that's through innovative digital tools. So therapists can make informed decisions based on their client care, have an opportunity to easily access an innovative treatment, and then also be able to connect with others so that they have the resources and the infrastructure to deliver psychedelic therapy. So we're really focusing on these three pillars as we move forward. Now, as we look back, we know that there has been quite a few, I would say, setbacks. Maybe it was a bit discouraging when the FDA rejected the approval for MDMA, but despite all those challenges and that rejection, we were committed to moving forward. We know that we have the opportunity here in Canada through the Special Access Program to continue to build on the foundation and the intent of what the FDA's approval was meant to be. And in that, we provide application services and we're receiving approvals to streamline the treatments, specifically psilocybin-assisted therapy and MDMA-assisted therapy for those who are seeking care and there's no other alternatives that they see. The other way that we're continuing to build on our foundation is bring forward innovative ketamine-assisted therapy protocols. So, of course, we work with we currently have, we review the evidence, and as part of that, we've continued to identify new programs that meet the needs of the clients that are seeking care. And that would include combining both psychedelic and psycholytic dosing, as well as individual, couples, and group therapy. So we really feel the magic is in combining those two. And when you have the opportunity to put that together in a protocol, we are seeing amazing outcomes from the clients who are seeking care from us. Now, as we go forward, I wanted to just share a bit of the really exciting highlights that we were able to work collaboratively together in 2024. Our first one, and I think we've talked about this in the past, is we have received our licensing in the province of Alberta for both our Edmonton and Calgary clinics. That was really a huge milestone. In December, we were granted our official license and we continue to finalize our accreditation processes for both of our clinics. We know that in building that out, first of all, safety comes to mind, but we're able to adjust and adapt our program and protocols in an environment that has been supported and endorsed not only by our provincial regulatory bodies, but also by the provincial licensing bodies. The other really exciting thing I wanted to share is that we completed a pilot project with a partner of a First Nations community, and that was Siksika First Nations, but Siksika Health Services. That was a very successful pilot program that was designed to support First Nations in developing their own psychedelic therapy program in their current services. We know that varies from community to community, so we are here to share our lessons learned from this pilot and begin to work with other First Nations communities so they can take a look at how best it might be for them to incorporate new and innovative treatments. We also are focused on supporting Indigenous and First Nations counselors and psychologists so that they have the comfort, the knowledge, and the training to be able to be part of a team on a First Nations community that brings this service in a regular and consistent way to its members. And finally, I alluded to the launch of our co-care program. So just in November, we launched co-care, and that is designed to help therapists expand their current practices. And as I said, we know therapists are the backbone of this essential program and that they need the support, the resources, and tools to help them bring that access to the clients they already serve. What I think as we move forward, I'm going to hand it on over to Vu. So he's going to talk a little bit about some of the business development that we've been working on, as well as our upcoming clinical trial. So over to you, Vu.
Thanks, Rev. Um, as we move from 2024 to 2025, I think it's important to, one, acknowledge that the development work that we did to provide some of the infrastructure, but also how we plug therapists and practitioners into that infrastructure, it's really important for us to understand the scalability. And when we develop it, we also look at scalability and how can we get more accessibility through these programs, whether it's the program that brings community therapy practices into our clinic network or the program that brings therapists into the clinic infrastructure to deliver psychedelic therapy. When we develop all of it, we really have to keep in mind how do we create this in a way that we can make it comprehensive yet scalable. And really, 2025 is our ability to show that the programs and the infrastructure we created is very scalable. So the goal is really to scale in 2025. We're hoping to bring more network clinics to therapists across the country. And in that, we will be growing several co-care communities because we will develop a co-care community around each of the clinic. And then, of course, providing therapist resource in a digital platform. I think this is a piece that's much needed in the therapy field. There hasn't been much that's been introduced to the therapy field that is useful or be able to enhance a therapist's practice. And we feel like with the technology that we have right now, it's a good time to start pulling together a lot of these resources and make it available to therapists to be able to enhance their practice. And last, I'll give a quick update on our clinical trial, phase two, which has had a little bit of delay, but I'll give you an update on that as we get to the end. So As I mentioned, 2025, we're looking at scaling the clinic network. Our goal here is to be able to provide more access point and really decentralize, localize um, hub service clinics that is accessible to the localized community of practice of therapists and practitioners. So our goal is to create a clinic network in large and small population centers across Canada. And around each of these hub service clinic, what we'd like to do is build a community practice of local therapists and practitioners that will be able to plug into the hub service clinic via our co-care program. So in essence, we're creating dozens of these hub and spoke system that are co-care communities surrounding the hub service clinic of that location or that urban center across Canada. And in 2025, we hope to bring 20 plus network clinics to populations across Canada for therapists to be able to access. Um, Many of you may not have heard about the program, co-care program, and many of you have. Really, the co-care program is the program in which we allow the therapist to be able to plug into the psychedelic therapy infrastructure, the clinic network, as well as prescriber network, to be able to deliver psychedelic therapy in a very feasible and practical manner. The co-care program allows therapists, independent therapists and practitioners to have continuity of care of their client throughout the psychedelic therapy treatment process. You will be you'll be able to manage your client's preparation, intention setting, integration, and ongoing therapy, while our clinic provides and facilitates a ketamine session or psychedelic medicine session, which you can participate in or choose not to. And together, we really provide a seamless experience for both you to participate with your client. The co-care community is meant to provide you with everything that you need from prescribers, interdisciplinary support to regulated clinic space. Our goal is to provide you, as the therapist, the ability to deliver psychedelic care that saves you time, administrative burden, and really mitigate a lot of risk of delivering psychedelics as a therapy. Our goal is to be able to have you be able to market your services, that you are a psychedelic co-care therapist with our network, and in that way set your practice apart. And hopefully the early adopters will have an advantage and set your practice apart in terms of competitive advantages. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the co-care program, Rev?
No, I think I'm hoping to elaborate a bit because one of the questions were some of the specific streams, as you alluded to, and the choices that the therapist had. But I think you've covered it, Boo, so thank you.
Okay. And this is something that we have been working on, and we thought about looking at what are also a lot of the when I started this Atma in mid 20 or early 2021, we had a huge shortage of therapists, and they were overworked and they were over uh, well, it was exacerbated by the shortage of therapists and the high demand itself. At that time, we started kind of thinking about, well, how could we, one is have the infrastructure build around therapists so that they can deliver psychedelic therapy a little bit easier, and how do we plug them into that infrastructure in a way that isn't going to be a heavy administrative burden for them to have to do all of the I'm going to say administrative work of setting up ad hoc psychedelic services. So we had an access platform in mind, but over the last couple years, and then in meeting with Rev and CNLI, we've also really developed out and really took into consideration what are all the other innovations that I'm going to say eluded the psychotherapy field. And so we looked at everything from the current EMR systems being used and the resources out there that certainly could really be helpful to a therapist, like an assessment tool. Many therapists don't have the skill set to do the proper DSM-5 assessment. Having an assessment assistant might be of value. There's also functional monitoring. So you're monitoring your client's functional data, whether they're sleeping, social engagement, um, their ability to not, continue work, all of those things that usually in your current EMR system is not really um, testing. So you might test the depression score and anxiety score, and even that is not really done well. So how can we test some of the better functional data so that therapists can make more informed decision about care and about psychedelic care? And really, this platform is going to be able to collect a lot of data that we can validate psychedelic therapy um, with, but also really validating that psychedelic with therapy works better than just psychedelic as a molecule, which we know that this field is challenged with right now. So all of this becomes a digital resource that we can bring to you on a platform, and we really think that this could really enhance your um, not just general therapy practice or psychedelic therapy practice, but your general therapy practice as well.
Mhm. Boo, maybe I'll just jump in because I've also reflected, and in my career, the fragmented system that both health and therapy have to live in can get really frustrating. So, in our approach, it's really the way to kind of maybe lessen and hopefully eliminate some of that frustration. So having tools and resources, and when we say resources, both for you as a therapist, but also information from and for your client. I really believe those two things on a digital platform are essential for us to, break down the barriers and integrate some of the silos that currently exist both in the Canadian and the North American system when we try to deliver innovative alternative treatments. So I'm really excited about this and our opportunity with our co-care program and with the infrastructure we're building to be able to seamlessly connect therapists and their clients to the resource and the support that they need.
Yeah, and I also think that this will really connect a larger community, national community of psychedelic therapists that are really just starting off in this field that's still fairly new. The ability to connect with fellow peer colleagues that are also looking at this fairly new field and find that you can find support or shared stories and experiences. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to have a platform to do it on. And the last thing I'll talk about is a clinical trial update for a lot of our alumni and clinicians in-house have signed up to be staff therapists for our clinical trial, phase 2. And we're very grateful to have received over 200 applicants to participate as staff therapists for this clinical trial. We appreciate your understanding that we wanted to launch this trial late last year, but because we were going through consolidation of Atma and Sina Life, as well as we were looking at the ability for us to do proper recruitment to be able to get enough participant for a large trial. It was going to be very hard to do out of what we thought was going to be the where we held most of the clinical trial, which is in Calgary, Alberta. So we've allocated our resources and focus on starting the clinical trial in Ontario to start in early 2025. And we hope to be able to get this all started as early as February for recruitment. Um, if For those who don't know about this clinical trial, it's a phase 2 psilocybin clinical trial exploring group and individual administration to treat depression in mental health care professionals, so therapists, psychiatrists, or physicians, any frontline healthcare professionals. As discussed, we're hoping to start this in February And as soon as we begin recruitment, we will reach out to the first 20 or 30 of the therapists that have signed up for to be staff therapists, likely in the Toronto, London location. And then we will go through a training as well as onboarding process with those therapists um, and practitioners. Um, one of the I'll go back and say one of the there's a couple of unique things about this clinical trial that no one else is really doing. One is, of course, I mentioned it's a group protocol. So we're the first to be able to do a clinical trial in a group protocol. I think a group protocol is really important because it brings out a different kind of dynamics to healing, but it's also going to be able to make psilocybin a lot more cost effective for a lot of people who need it, but can't get it due to the amount of professional hours that need to go into psilocybin assisted therapy. So we hope that the group protocol down the road, once it's approved, that we're able to get a drug to market and use group protocol, and in that way be able to really reduce the cost and increase accessibility. We're also utilizing a natural psilocybin extract, which most of the phase 2 and 3 out there, maybe all of them, are using synthetic. And we really feel like there's an opportunity here to bring a natural psilocybin extract to market. We also have a supply agreement that will allow us um, to be able to provide this at a much lower cost than the biotech company is going to provide it for. We really think that between using the group protocol and several other um, I'm going to say other advantages that we have as a private company to run clinical trial in Canada is going to greatly reduce the cost of running the trial, and therefore our ability to provide natural psilocybin extract at a much lower cost than what the big biotech companies would provide it for. As a staff therapist, I think we're going to send along a letter along with this um, webinar that outlines a lot more detail of the clinical trial participation. But in essence, each cohort will be like a cohort of 10. And along with each cohort of 10, we might take 1 to 3 individual for the cohort as well. And each cohort will be from Friday to Monday. So Friday, we'll start with a group of 10 in terms of providing a group preparation intention setting. And that will be run by a group of 3 to 5 therapists. One of them must be a lead therapist. And then Saturdays, Sundays are dosing session for which 5 of the 10 participants will participate on each day. Again, each participant, even in a group, will require at least one lead, but it could be 1 to 2 therapists per participant in the group. So Saturday we'll do 5 of the participants, Sunday we'll do the other 5 participants. And then on Monday, the group of 10 comes back together for group integration, again, being held by 3 to 5 therapists facilitating, and one of them must be a lead therapist. And we've outlined all of the requirements as well as the setup on the letter that's accompanying this webinar and this email sent out. So that's the clinical trial update, and we hope that recruitment starts in early February, and we'll be reaching out to 20 to 30 staff therapist applicants in early February to start organizing that first cohort. But after we start recruitment, we will know exactly how much interest there is in terms of recruitment for us to really schedule most of 2025 and try to get through as much of the 200 participant for the phase 2 as possible in the next 12 months from the start.
Mhm. Boo, I just want to have a shout out here to the stakeholders that are supporting us in this clinical trial. As you said, there's been a bit of a delay, but we couldn't do any of this without really great stakeholders and partners that have come to the table to not only support some of the heavy lifting around approval of the protocol, of course, all of the importance around the product for the protocol, and then finally the analysis of the trial. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those partners that are working with us and have had the patience as we move through, and really excited for us to start recruiting our not only participants but our therapists for our phase 2 trial.
Yeah, it'll be there's not many clinical trials left in Canada that's being run, so I'm looking forward to being to make this available for therapists to participate in.
That's awesome.
And that is the end.
Yeah. So I think this brings our update about our kind of 2025 roadmap and our year in a review, the content part to a close. But as I alluded to, on the webinar, we had some amazing questions from a really large participant group that was able to attend. Um, and I'm going to say I was really excited here in the new year that we had well over 200 individuals sign up. And then I think we had about 70 participating and asking us questions. So I think for the next few minutes, what Vu and I are going to do is recap some of, I guess, categories, the questions that were asked. There were lots around our co-care program and some details about that. There were some questions about, coverage for this type of therapy. And then there were questions about our First Nations pilot project work. So maybe between Vu and I, we'll be asking each other a few of those questions, and hopefully we've captured in our dialogue some of the answers that we provided to all of you on Thursday. So I don't know, Vu, do you want to start off and ask
Great.
me a question, and I'll do my
Yeah,
best?
I'll ask a question. There was a therapist who asked about if he had a client come from out of province, how does it cover it? So I assume that he's talking about coming to Alberta, because Blue Cross covers psychedelic therapy in Alberta.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I'm excited to say we also had participants from the United States, and then actually from across the ocean in the UK as well. So, I think that there is limited availability for licensed and regulated treatment. So I'm excited and encouraged when people are expressing interest, and really honored that they would actually fly or drive to Alberta to receive that care. But what I want to share is that across the board, there is still varied coverage for psychedelic drug treatment service. So here in Alberta, that's the licensing that we have and how we define it. And psychedelic drug treatment services includes ketamine. And so really individuals who are looking to access this type of service, it's either private pay or supported through third-party insurance. Here in Canada, we do have Blue Cross, Sun Life, Canada Life. So if you are a client or a therapist, that's where I think I'd encourage you to start with the individual's kind of review of their third-party insurance. And unfortunately, if they don't have any, it is a private pay. It's not publicly covered here in Canada, or to my knowledge, in the US or North America. So I will share that we do our best to be able to identify those coverage limits for clients who come to seek service in Alberta, and whether they're calling us from across Alberta or, as Vu said, interprovincially, we will encourage them to explore what is their benefit plan look like and how much coverage do they have. We know right now that therapy is a core staple of many benefit plans. So that's where most of the third-party insurance comes from. And as Vu said, there's a heavy component on therapy hours that are allocated for either psychedelic treatment or ketamine-assisted therapy treatment. So you start there, and therapy, in my experience and understanding, is covered. And then where the tricky part comes is when you combine the medicine or the treatment sessions and the therapy together. In Alberta here, we were able to sit down and offer some information to Alberta Blue Cross, and they're very innovative and forward thinking, and they identified a program enhancement, is what they've called it. So if you're here in Alberta and you have third-party insurance in Alberta, specifically with Blue Cross, we will work with you to identify the best way to schedule your therapy and your treatment so that that can be fully covered as part of your benefit plan. And we have several clients who've come to us and received full reimbursement for their programs that they've participated in, which is really exciting. So our hope is that we continue to share that, and each of you continue to ask your third-party insurance provider how best to schedule and support your treatment to be able to get and maximize the coverage that you have. Right now, if you're coming from out of province or out of state, you will have to look to reimburse your medical care as part of your own state or own health insurance plan. But we're happy to provide information so that you can go back to your home state or country to be able to explore if those things are available to you. Often when they're not available in your home state or province, there is an opportunity that you can explore with your third-party insurance provider how best to get that covered. So we're excited. We'll continue to work here with Alberta Blue Cross and hopefully can see more program enhancements in 2025.
Thanks, Raf. And I know there's a lot of people or a lot of therapists who have clients who are uh, receiving a reimbursement for therapy. And our co-care program is laid out so that the therapist and their client will always maintain direct billing throughout the co-care therapy program. So if you're a therapist and you have a client that is receiving reimbursement from third-party insurance provider for therapy, that can continue through the co-care program. We only bill the client directly for the services that they receive at the clinic. And so the whole care program is really set up for you to maintain the direct billing with your client and therefore not disrupt any kind of reimbursement that they might get through therapy and their insurance provider.
Mhm. You know, Vu, one more thing I wanted to add is because we have, and it just tweaked my memory, some questions about the Special Access Program, which is unique in North America. So Canada offers an opportunity for clients and their prescribers. So depends what province you're in, but here in Alberta, that would be your psychiatrist that is overseeing your care, the opportunity to apply to the Special Access Program. Because there is that opportunity, but those drugs have not yet been legalized under the CDSA, they are not eligible for reimbursement. However, as Vu said, the therapy continues to be available for reimbursement pre or post medicine session. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, because I recall a question about the Special Access Program, if that would be covered. We are hoping, you know, to continue to identify, and through even the additional clinical trial research that we're participating in, that over the course of 2025, we will continue to see awareness build and grow, and the opportunity for our government here in Canada to look not only at the Special Access Program, but how that can be broadened or potentially how we move forward. And as the states, which will be an interesting year in 2025, takes a look at some of the ways that they identify, approve, and support FDA decisions, that we will be watching that closely.
Great, thanks. I believe we had one of the therapists on the call asked about our protocols and how they can bring their own methodology. And when I guess methodology that the therapist meant touch or therapy modalities. So can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about first of all,
Definitely.
our protocols in the co-care program, and also the question whether each therapist can bring their own kind of flavor to co-care?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, Vu. And I recall that we talked about the three kind of pathways in the co-care program. So I'll just start there and then I'll jump into some of the uniqueness in the protocol. So the first pathway is referral. And we want therapists who are referring into us to know that we support a handoff or that transition, or we really want your client to be feeling supported, but also if you're not able to, you to be able to receive that warm handoff back from the care that we give to your client to yourself. So that was just a regular referral process. The second is our tier one approach to co-care. And as you said, Vu, that is where you're able to support with your own current modality. So whether when we talk about that, that's the application of CBT or EMDR, whatever your plan of care has been with you as a therapist and your client, to continue to do that. And you're able to offer that pre and post medicine session. So pre-session, our protocol involves that you must have an intention session with your client. And then we're talking about ketamine assisted therapy. You would come into a medicine session in a licensed clinic. And in that medicine session, you can offer the opportunity to sit with your client, hold space, but we would offer the interdisciplinary team as part of this approach to be able to ensure not only your client's been medically assessed, but they are supported and monitored during that session. Now, we have two, I guess, streams of ketamine assisted therapy. One is psycholytic, and that's where there's active therapy involved with the dosing. And one is psychedelic, where that's more an inner reflection when you have the medicine session. Both of those are open to you as a tier one. But when we think about active therapy, we want to ensure that you're able and informed based on not only your regulatory body, but your training to be able to meet the qualifications of our licensing here in Alberta. So we will support you in reviewing that and also in identifying the appropriate requirements, whether that's an information management agreement, consents, physical touch consents, we take care of all of that. So as part of tier one, and I've kind of jumped into tier two there, you really become part of our interdisciplinary team. So there's many options for you exploring the co-care program to continue to provide your own flavor, support, and expertise with your client. We want to wrap your client with an interdisciplinary team. And by that, I mean really become part of what we're doing, and then to be able to modify their care plan as they go forward. So we did have a question about what does that look like? And I think it's really a lesson that we've learned in the last 18 months is mental health is so unique. So whether that individual is working with an integrated or an integration coach, an integrated health specialist, they're being supported by a counselor or a registered psychologist, we want to make sure that that therapeutic relationship is maintained. And the tools and the supports and the methodologies that they're using are continued to be part of the care plan. So we will also sit down and include you in the conversations that your client is having with us, depending if you're tier one or tier two, after we've signed all of those confidentiality and privacy sharing requirements, that we would work together to identify the series and the number and the type of medicine sessions that are best for your client. So really, it's a unique way that you can provide your input. We've applied the requirements from our licensing perspective for safe care, and collectively, we build that plan for your client care plan together.
So really, like I think our protocol is very unique in the way that it can combine different protocols. But really, if you're able to combine protocols as well as allow for methodology of the therapist that they've been working with their client on to be able to come into our co-care program, I think the ability to introduce psychedelic treatment and even meet your client exactly where they're at and what they need in using our protocol and the co-care program and how flexible it is. It's really designed for you to be very flexible to meet your client where they're at. And I'm excited, and I think we should do a co-care, or sorry, a webinar later, maybe in a couple months, where we talk about maybe psychedelic and psycholytic, but we talk about how it is in the individual program we're creating, but also the couples program we're creating and the group program that we're going to create with those protocols.
Yeah, I agree, Vu. And it's so amazing when you start to build a really big community like we have about what we learn and what we're measuring and what we're seeing for client outcomes. So I also know our team is actively working on integration circles post kind of program. So when a client comes to us, there's those requirements within the program, but we also know that healing continues for those individuals, like for a long time after that. So we're exploring what that looks like as well. And to your point, I love to share more with everybody as we learn and develop some of those programs and protocols around individual and group and how we incorporate some of those things that are really unique to the individuals that are seeking care.
Right.
Awesome.
Um, this probably wasn't asked at our webinar, but maybe can you tell us or can you describe our member clinic program a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. So we did, you're right. We kind of really quickly brushed over our national clinical network. But um, what we have created is almost like I would say a toolkit of how you put in ketamine assisted therapy into your existing service offerings. So our member clinic program allows current practices. You know, they could be medical, but the majority that are coming to us are therapy practices because they see the real need to be able to offer this innovative treatment to their clients. And these therapy practices become part of our member network, and then we support them with a toolkit that allows them to walk through how do we set up offering ketamine in my current business. And when I say that, it's exactly what you're offering now. And we have the expertise to provide you with guidance and support to be able to introduce ketamine. We use that based on the lessons we've learned with developing our program here that is now licensed and accredited. And then that toolkit allows those members to be able to set up their own service line and then continue to be part of a community of practice. So we continue on a monthly basis to support individuals in our network with questions that may come up that are unique to the offerings that they would like to give with, I would say, some clinical components when people are struggling. And maybe those are administrative things like how do I get best access for my clients based on the insurance parameters that they have, or potentially what makes most sense to schedule some of the staff that I've now brought on to be able to give that treatment. So we dive right into the details if you need, but really at a high level, our member clinics are part of a community of practice that allows them with the tools and the resources to set up their service line. We see that that's really important in the therapy space because, again, I alluded to the fragmentation that just naturally exists in our healthcare services, and we're having great success with that. So I'm really excited to continue to support and learn from those therapy practices that are implementing ketamine and also to contribute to the increased access across the country.
Yeah, and if I can add to that,
Mhm, please.
really our network clinic, the way that we approach it is that we realize that there needs to be more access point, of course, because psychedelic medicine, the protocol requires a lot of visits and it takes a long time to process psychedelic medicine. So if you have to drive, say, 2, 3 hours, it becomes very cost prohibitive and needing people to drive you and overnight stays and everything else. So we know that we need more access point, but we can't go and overbuild the number of clinics. So our goal really is to partner and to utilize existing capacity and infrastructure to set up more access points. So we will support one member clinic per urban center across Canada, in small and large. Any clinic that is in the population of 50,000 or more could likely be a member clinic. And we'll support one in each urban center. And in 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 supporting them, we're also going to build a community of practice of therapists and practitioners through the co-care program to participate in that at that member clinic as the place to go and receive psychedelic service line. And in that way, I think we can build decentralized and localized access in a sustainable way over time. And we feel like existing community practices already are sustainable. Adding this to it will just, I think, improve their business, but also it's not going to be reliant on this service line in totality as a business to survive. And that's how we think building infrastructure now can make sense for and still be sustainable for what's to come in 2, 3 years when we have the explosion of psychedelic therapy coming to mainstream.
Yeah, Vu, and I just want to reiterate that everything that we're doing is available to members in our national network.
Mhm.
So when we talked about the community of psychedelic therapists and we talk about the ability to have knowledge and support to put the service line in your existing programming, and we talk about our digital access platform, all those things are fully available to those that are in our membership, our member clinics and our national network. So these are things that I think are exciting and, to your point, increase accessibility, but then also ease some of the burdens that therapy practices currently have in being able to connect and access care for their clients.
Yeah, we, I think like I've been in this industry now for almost 4 years, but I'm not a therapist or practitioner or healthcare provider. But being in this industry for 4 years now, everybody comes to me and asks, friends and friends of family, they ask me, um, like about ketamine-assisted therapy or psychedelic therapy, how they get it. And it's funny because they all have their own therapist, but they don't ask their therapist that. So I think there's a disconnect that psychedelic therapy is here and general therapy is here, when really it's a missed opportunity for therapists to be able to take those clients through psychedelic therapy and participate with them. That's what the co-care program is about. We really want you, the therapist, to really understand that psychedelic therapy is an extension or can be an extension of your practice or your business, and not something that is specialized and out here and separate from your
Mhm.
general therapy practice.
Yeah, I agree. That's an awesome segue because I remember the last thing we wanted to bring as part of the questions that came forward was really what was the work we did with our First Nations community. And just as there might be this perceived disconnect, right, between where psychedelic therapy can be offered and where therapy is, I think there's also historically the disconnect between how do First Nations communities also have access and support to these kinds of, I would say, emerging therapies that are really supporting their community members. So maybe Vu, I'll jump in because the First
Yeah.
Nations pilot was, I would say, I know, held a special place for me as we embarked on the opportunity with Siksika Health Services, which is here in Alberta. We knew that it was going to be amazing what we learned, and we were so grateful to have a partner that guided us in the pilot project. So a couple of questions were, did you involve community members or elders, and what kind of protocol did you use? So the answer to my first question was yes, absolutely. The team that we worked with for the pilot project set up several information sessions where community members, elders, members from their healthcare service came and started to learn more, not only about the evidence behind these types of therapies, but really got to ask questions about how can that fit into the community and, what's important to me as I'm part of this community in being able to bring an alternative choice to members who are struggling with their mental health. We had several of those. We walked together and it took a while, but I guess in the end, we ensured we had the input from those that not only were going to be participating, but that we're really going to tell other community members about an opportunity to be able to access something new. Just like you mentioned about, your family and friends coming and asking you, where do I get this from? Same sort of thing happened in those info sessions. So our principle and the way that we approached the project was to walk beside the Siksika Health Service individuals who were leading this, and then just be there to adjust and I would say pivot when we needed based on what the input was from the community members. And so that led us to an opportunity to decide that we were really going to focus on the healthcare providers at Siksika Health Services. You know, there's several of them. They have quite a robust and an accredited health service organization on community. And they realized that they were also in need of personal mental health, wellness, and healing. So in doing that, we went through a process with them to identify individuals and of course, who were assessed medically and met the criteria, but would participate with us in this pilot project. And in doing that, we also came to a decision about having group therapy. I know you mentioned earlier in our discussion how group therapy really has benefits of healing. And maybe there's not a lot of evidence based on what our clinical trial is presenting, but this was the guidance and the direction we took from our First Nation partners. So we provided ketamine-assisted therapy in group. We provided specific Indigenous psychologists to support their both intention and integration. And we worked with the community to understand how could this be covered and what types of funding and benefits are in place. So all of that is really robust for us to have lessons learned about when we went through that pilot project, what could we take? What did we need to tweak? And how could we support other First Nations communities in adding these service lines to what they currently offer? So we came to a conclusion of our pilot project in the fall. We've since penned a lessons learned report, which we're happy to share. It's a really important read that allows us to know as we move forward, how are we going to adjust and tweak this that suits the community in the best way possible. But the question was really about the protocol and how we worked with them and what kinds of cultural things do we incorporate. So I'm hoping I framed that answer correctly. I'm really excited for it. We continue to work with Siksika Health Service, and we're opening that up if there's other First Nation communities who are interested in walking with us to identify how best to add this service line to their existing programs. We're happy to do that.
Great. Uh, is that program designed to be implemented with other First Nation as well?
Yeah, well, definitely we can support the lessons learned. What I would say as a principle, Vu, is every First Nation community, just like every individual, is unique. So they may have their own, I would say, priorities in how they'd like to see and implement or be able to introduce a new program or service offering. So we definitely have a framework that we start with. But our principle would be to work together based on the uniqueness of the community to be able to identify how to implement that in their service. And again, you know, we didn't know what to expect, but if it's something the First Nation community would say based on the fact that they're experienced and maybe even accredited with their health services, yeah, we would be happy to offer some suggestions and what we've done as a protocol that's well suited and in place for them to implement with their community members.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
Wow,
that
we
was
did a
a
lot
really
in short
exciting.
time in 2024.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of time for R&R, I would say. We've been really, really busy, but really, really exciting things. So I feel like we've kind of captured in the themes some of the questions that were answered. I don't think there was anything else, Boo, but my hope is this was valuable and informative for those of you that joined us or those of you that are watching right now. My hope is also that you see what we see in being able to move forward and building a movement to transform mental health care, and really with a focus of our therapy partners and the therapists across our province, really across the North America, that we would be able to support them with the tools and the resources that they need to bring access to the clients that they serve.
Yeah, and I hope that anybody that's watching this, whether you have someone interested in being a member clinic or you want to be a member clinic or you feel a member clinic is needed in your community, please reach out to us and ask us for more information. You can reach us at our website, atmascena.com. You can also find information on co-care on our website. And there is on the co-care page, you'll be able to book a call to get more of a detailed presentation on the co-care program if you wish to, if you're a therapist or a practitioner and wish to provide ketamine-assisted therapy or psychedelic-assisted therapy for your client. And we'd be happy to also entertain if you're connected to a First Nation that is interested in the learnings that Rev and her team had with Siksika.
Great. Thanks so much, Vu. Hope everyone has a great Saturday. Take care.
Bye.